Welcome to this edition of Inside the Den, where we discuss everything to do with the men's and women's varsity club wrestling team at WSU. And I'm really excited today because I'm going to have a great conversation with Freshman Lia Hornby. Welcome, Lia. Um,
Thank you. Thank you,
Leah,
Andrea.
let's just kick it right off. And first of all, give us all the the important things like what class you are, what you're studying. Tell us what high school you came from, and when you started wrestling, if you can remember all those things.
Okay. So I'm this is my first year at WSU. I'm a mechanical engineering student. I did running start, so by credits, I think I'm a sophomore technically, but this is my first year out of high school. And I wrestled at WF West High School for 4 years and at the middle school there for 1 year. So this is my sixth year of wrestling. I also have two little sisters who wrestle at WF West High School, and I try to go back to see them as much as I can.
Yeah, and just right after the new year, you went to the really big and awesome girls tournament at Kelso. Were your sisters competing in that tournament?
Oh, Eden was, but Lucy got appendicitis right before the tournament. So,
So
yeah,
that
but Kelso is my favorite tournament. I won that my senior year,
Yeah,
which
it's a
was,
tough tournament. I mean, I would say it's really, I mean, it's tougher than the state tournament. It's the best girls high school wrestling tournament in the Pacific Northwest. So shout out to Kelso High School and Bob Friend there for putting that on for, I mean, it's got to be it's a decade at least now. And you are a Washington State student and you are a Washington State wrestler, but you are not on the main campus. So can you share with everyone watching what campus that you are on right now?
okay, I'm on the Tri-Cities campus or the Richland campus, and I chose to go to the Tri-Cities instead of the main Pullman campus because I like a smaller community college feel, but it has all the same resources as the main WSU campus. And it's also a little bit closer to home, which is nice.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's lots of engineering internship opportunities around here.
very true. And so what are your like what do you hope to do, down the road with your mechanical engineering degree?
Um, I just really love like building things and making things, and I have a lot of fun with like using CAD and CAM, which is like computer aided design and machining. And I would I would kind of like to make really big ships, like possibly work for the Department of Defense and all that, but I haven't completely decided yet. I'm pretty flexible. I'll choose a
Well,
specialty later on, I think.
the Department of Defense would be lucky to have you, as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't know that. So you've held out. Like you talked a little bit about, yeah, I like to build things, but I didn't know you wanted to do like big ships and stuff. That's awesome. And part of your WSU Tri Cities experiences, I'm also a wrestler.
Mhm.
So big shout out to head wrestling coach Dom Duncan at Hanford High School and the whole Hanford High School wrestling team. Go Falcons. That is where you have been training. So you've been training away from, the main campus and where the main part of the team is. What has that kind of been like for you? And tell us a little bit about your experience at Hanford.
Well, the team's really great, and all the coaches, especially Dom, but all the coaches are really great. The hardest thing is that I'm technically a volunteer coach, so I don't have to do the cardio. I do, but I don't have to, which which is a little bit tough sometimes because I'm like, coach is like, get on the line, and I'm like, I don't have to do this. I should, but I don't have to. I always do the cardio, but that makes it a little bit tough, and a little bit harder to convince myself to go to practice sometimes because I'm just a volunteer.
Yeah.
But I would say that overall, the hardest thing is not having a set wrestling partner
Mhm.
because I usually just wrestle with whoever didn't have their partner show up. That's
Okay.
around my weight, you know.
Okay. Yeah, gosh, even on main campus, sometimes it's hard to get the partner that you need, just because someone may be gone for practice that day or, exams or whatnot. But I'm really glad that you still have a place where you can, train and do that cardio if you need it. Yeah, it's not often you have to see coach get on the line and do the cardio, right? Do you beat them in the sprint? I hope so, Leah.
But sometimes, I mean, it's I'm not as fast as some of the lightweights, but I'm faster than the heavyweights. You know, I'm a I'm a midweight. I'm about middle of the pack there.
You're right in the bulk middle.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're in your second semester now. We are pretty much all the way through, almost all the way through the regular season. And part of that has been, you know, your first time wrestling and against other collegiate women's teams, particularly in the Northwest. So a lot of Oregon schools, our Washington schools, getting to tournaments like the Mountaineer Open, Spokane Open, duels that we've had. Um, what's been your impression so far of, like women's collegiate wrestling in the Pacific Northwest?
It's kind of like high school, but closer to the end of the season, I guess, when like you're wrestling people who are ranked and actually know what they're doing. Like in high school tournaments, it probably takes like 2 or 3 rounds before you'll get to people who've been wrestling for a significant amount of time and really know their stuff. But in college, your first match could be someone who was like a state champion or something. So it's a little bit harder to prepare mentally, I think, because you don't know what to expect. But I also really enjoy wrestling people from different areas instead of just the state,
Yeah.
because I didn't get to travel for wrestling before college.
Yeah. So, women's collegiate wrestling is as kind of to your point. Um, most of the women that are competing in college have, several years, if not some of them decade, of competitive experience. And so what you're saying is it's just deeper competition, like you said, right out of the bat.
Mhm.
My first match, I got to be ready to go because it's going to be like that way every single match, right? So it's a new challenge. It's a new challenge that so far I think you're meeting that challenge really well. And the more you stay in the game, the more um, you learn how to, be up for that first, second, third, fourth match, every single time. So that's just some experience. But, we, WSU women just had, a really, really big win. The women's team went down to St. George, Utah at Utah Tech. They hosted the NCWA Women's National Duels. So it was like really our first big dual tournament and dual competition. And, you really stepped up and had some great performances. What was, like competing with your team in that way is so different than what we do with individual tournaments. Like, what did you really like from that experience? And what do you feel like you took away from, how you're wrestling right now?
I really love dual tournaments because you get to have your whole team there supporting you and you get to support your whole team. And it's really easy to follow the progression of matches. Like you don't have to be like, oh, well, I could be up on mat 6 or mat 3 over there, or whoops, they just went through 3 pins really fast over at that mat. So now I might be over there instead. It's a lot more like I know I'm going to be wrestling on this specific mat in 4 matches exactly, you know. And this was kind of like my first. I've gone to a couple tournaments with the team already, but this was like the first one where we had a lot of time together as a team,
Yep.
and I had a really great time
A
with
lot of
everybody
time at the airport, in the airplane, at
in the
baggage
car.
claim, in the 2 hour we flew. The women had to get up at the, at first light and drive from Pullman to Spokane, fly the a brief flight down to Las Vegas, get in a van,
Hmm.
drive 2 hours to St. George, and chicken and everything. And then shout out to Desert Hills High School Thunder Girls Wrestling for hosting the women's team, to allow them to get a practice in and do some weight management. And Yeah, and then we just spent 2 days wrestling. That first day, just all duels, like you said, all together for the first time. I love duels for that. I love that whatever is happening on the mat, you all are just fired up and going crazy. You might as well be sitting in the coaches' chairs, because half the time you all are coaching each other up and cheering for each other. And no matter what happens on the mat, win, lose, you step back out of the circle and your whole team is there. Everybody kind of has each other's backs. And man, we had some spectacular wins. Really exciting. And so, but overall, you were happy with, those teams that we really had to beat: UNLV, Utah Tech, Ottawa. You had really good performances against them. And so how does that, as we're heading into the postseason, looking to conference and then the NCAA national tournament, Louisiana, how your performance at women's duels, how does that help your confidence, kind of going into this postseason as we look to Louisiana?
Um, well, I was kind of that's the first tournament we've had that was like a had a lot of different states outside of where we normally wrestle.
Mhm.
So I've been kind of wondering how I was going to match up against people that aren't. I've been wrestling Washington girls my whole life. There's sort of a style to Washington wrestling, and I went to Fargo once, and it was really interesting to wrestle girls from like Colorado and Hawaii and Alaska, and everyone has their own style. So I was really wondering how I'd stack up in college against different wrestling styles. And I think now I have the confidence to know that I can succeed. And as like if I fight for it, I can win any match, I would say.
Yeah, it just the way you were wrestling down there, I think everybody knows that when you're dialed in and ready to go, there's probably not anyone that can beat you right now. But um, but all the same, you know, still got to keep, the pedal to the metal, getting better, getting stronger, getting smarter, prior to nationals. So yeah, personally, I think you're in a great space. Your confidence should be really good. And Yeah, national duels was, I think you put everybody on notice down there. So um, Now I'm going to pause because I don't know what I want to say. I don't know how long we've been, you know, let me just see how long we've been talking. Oh, we're really flying through this fast. Okay. Leah, is there anything you want to talk about?
Um,
I mean, having a short episode is actually good. The shorter, the better. So we can close it out here if you want, unless there's something you're like, oh, I really want to talk about such and such.
oh, I was just I was just sort of thinking about how coming into college as a freshman after coming off of being a senior in high school it feels really weird because in high school I had a terrible freshman year. I improved a lot, and then by the end of my senior year, I was ranked number one in the state. So I had really good seating at all the tournaments. But then coming in to college wrestling, I'm unranked and a freshman again. So it's really, really weird to be in a bracket and then be like if I am seeded, it's usually like in the bottom half of the seeds, which is it's a little bit of a shock, but I'm ready to work for it, you know?
Yeah, well, I think certainly now, going into, your performance at the Mountaineer Open, NCWA national duels, the rest of your record, I think from now on, seeding will be pretty straightforward for you. And certainly, going into next year, do you plan on continuing on next year?
But yes, as of right now, it could change, but I'm going to spend the first semester next year in Sweden, but I'm going to come back and continue wrestling after that
Okay,
semester. And I'm
cool.
gonna try to stay in shape in Sweden, maybe join some there must be some wrestling clubs in Sweden,
Oh,
right?
there definitely is.
Mhm.
After we record this, we're going to want to make sure to put you in touch with the right people that can help you out. But let's definitely talk about Sweden and why are you going? Is this school related, mechanical engineering related?
Yeah, so there's this I believe it's an exchange program that WSU has with Linköping, I think is how you pronounce it, university in Sweden. It's a little bit of a smaller university, but it's got some world-class research stuff.
Hmm.
So I applied for to be part of the group that gets sent over there. They choose 7 students, and it's a three. It's been a 3-year exchange, and this is the last year of the exchange. So we're the last 7 students that are going to Sweden. But I believe it's like a $12,000 scholarship that you get, and that should pay for your room and board and the classes and everything. So it'll be cheaper than staying here, which is kind of funny.
So when did you get the news that you were accepted?
Um, During winter break, I applied for it during finals week, and then I was actually, do you know the about the Pac Coast tournament?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I was helping coach my old high school team there at Pac Coast when I got an email that said I was accepted, and then I freaked out a little bit and I I scared one of our wrestlers, but then I was like, no, no, this is good screaming. This is good screaming.
Leah, that's awesome. I'm sure you told me this, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we have to talk about that more." And so I'm glad we get to talk about it and share the good news. I'm really excited for you. I think that's a tremendous opportunity. And yes, you'll be able to stay fit in Sweden, and there's definitely wrestling will make sure to help put those connections together for you. But I think that's super exciting. And just watch the lingonberry juice. Just watch that. And watch all the IKEA. Try not to come back with too much IKEA or whatever.
Oh, I love IKEA. IKEA is actually my favorite store.
Yeah, it's hard not to like IKEA, that's for sure. Especially, see, you're a mechanical engineer, so you can put all that stuff together without any problem, while the rest of us are struggling with the directions and taking far too long to assemble everything. So after you come back, will it be back to the Tri-Cities campus, or do you have any plans on moving to the main campus?
I think as of right now, it's the Tri-Cities campus that I'd be moving back to because things are cheaper and I'm a little bit closer to home,
Yeah.
and that's nice.
Yeah, and I
But I
think
mean,
it's fantastic that I'm just really glad that, like Coach Phil and the team and WSU and Dom have all been able to make it possible, even though you're on a quote satellite campus, that you're still able to be a part of the club and the team. And, like you said, you started wrestling in middle school and then you had 4 years of high school. In a lot of ways, you're really just getting really started and really, able to learn more and do more. And so I'm really glad that you have the opportunity through WSU wrestling to do that.
Yeah, I was kind of not planning on wrestling in college because I wanted to become a mechanical engineer, and that's a really rigorous program. So I didn't think I'd have time for like signing on as a D1 wrestler,
Yeah.
and then having to do 6 hours of conditioning every day or whatever. But
Well, we got to get you out from under your studies every once in a while, to
yeah,
remind you that there's other things out there. And the great thing I think about the club system is you can strike whatever balance you need to strike between your academics and your athletics. And so I think this is where, club wrestling serves a really, really good purpose on college campuses, that we have students that this is my school of choice, and there isn't, not only is there maybe not a varsity program, but I don't think I can be as committed as, a signed scholarship athlete. And so this is really a nice kind of happy medium for students like yourself. And I know that I'm really glad that you joined the team this year, and this is how I've gotten, the chance to meet you and get to know you better. And so I look forward to everything postseason. I look forward to watching you go to Sweden. And WSU wrestling will always be here for you. So whether how in whatever shape or form you come back into the program, I know you're always going to be welcome.
I'm so grateful to have this option to carry on wrestling because I really do love wrestling. And if I didn't wrestle in college, I would be a coach.
Yeah,
I'd
good.
find a high school or somewhere that needed a couple extra volunteers or something.
Good. We want all of you coaching, and you'll all make great coaches. So fantastic. Well, Leah, thank you so much for taking time out of your study schedule to spend some time with me discussing your experience with the team and your academics and your future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real honor to work with you and the whole WSU team.
Woohoo! Go Cougs.
Coug.